Hey everyone, you're watching another episode of Treasure Reef, and today we're going to talk about phosphates in my aquarium and what I have been doing to bring it down and what I'm doing now to finally get to the levels that I want them to be at. So let's get going. As many of you who have been watching this channel for a while know, I usually have no problems bringing my nitrates down, so I keep them between 1 to, let's say, 5 ppm. However, when it comes to phosphates, there's always been an issue. As a matter of fact, with nitrates, I do dose potassium nitrate quite regularly to have it detectable, but when it comes to phosphates, it doesn't matter what I've done in the past, they've always been much higher than what I want them to be. So how does phosphate get into the aquarium? Through food. So I do feed my fish a lot. I usually add about 6 to 8 cubes of frozen food every day, and then I also add some nori every day or every other day, and also I used to be dosing some pellets. So first thing that I try to do is going with a chemical method. I've actually introduced GFO into the tank, and this is where a couple of months ago you can actually see I had a pretty catastrophic effect on my reef. So my corals lost color, they became gray, and some of them I've even lost. And for the longest time I've been running my phosphates at 0.4 on average. So when my GFO brought them down to 0.2, that was a pretty big shock for the corals. So thank you all that wrote in the previous few videos, and they've helped me get my parameters a little bit higher and get to the root of this. But now I'm trying other methods to bring my phosphates down. So first thing that I've started after that is to bring my nutrients down by bringing the amount of food that I add to the tank. So instead of 6 to 8 cubes, I'm now only adding about 4, maybe sometimes 3 cubes. I also have stopped dosing any pellets, and I do nori only every other day. And even with everything that I've done, I waited for about a month and a half. I noticed a little bit of a difference, but then my phosphates are not coming down. I've also, and by the way, if you are wondering, I do rinse all of my frozen food. Then what I did was I actually measured my Tropic Marine Pro salt freshly mixed, and I got 0.06 ppm of phosphates. So you can see that even the water changes are not really helping, because I've done probably 30% water changes every week, and I didn't notice any changes here as well. I also think that the sand that I'm using, and also probably not every spot now has good flow through it, this does help exacerbate the problem. Next, what I've started doing is I'm a long-term Coral Magazine subscriber. So in the latest issue, and by the way, I have every issue of Coral Magazine, and I'm pretty proud of that. This particular issue, which is the November-December 2020, had an article that caught my eye. It's called the Lanthanum solution. And this particular chemical is something that I've heard a lot when it comes to helping control the phosphates, but I was always told to proceed with caution because you may actually cause more harm. So, but I figured that even if I've had problems with the GFO, maybe I should take a look at this as well. And I read the article. It doesn't sound like something super complicated. So what I finally decided to do is get my hands on some lanthanum chloride solution, which is right here. And I've been using this on my tank for over a week now. So I started just about 7 or 8 days ago, and I have been using Aquatic Log, so my application, to basically measure my phosphates before I dose any lanthanum chloride, and then dose lanthanum chloride very carefully, slowly into a filter sock, and I also put a bit of filter floss on top of it, and then I give it about 2-3 hours before I recheck, and then this helps me get to the number of milliliters that I have to be dosing. So you can see I've started with phosphates of 0.3, and I dosed about 3 milliliters of lanthanum chloride, and then I waited and rechecked, and I didn't really notice much of a difference. Now keep in mind that this solution here, this already has been diluted. I actually got it from a friend, so I don't know the exact percentage of the solution, and I'm just using it as a base. So I've established the base. I figured that 3 milliliters was not enough. I dosed another 8, and it did actually bring down my phosphates to about 0.22. Then I wait one day, I don't do anything, and then the following day, so I'm giving it a bit of a break, I start the process again. And then my phosphates get to 0.23, then to 0.19, and then slowly I'm bringing them down lower and lower until they got to about 0.16, and I'm already by that time dosing about 10 milliliters. And unfortunately, I must say that this is kind of where my experiment hit a block, because I've been doing this now probably, I've done 4 doses so far, and they're quite aggressive, 10 milliliters of the solution, and I noticed some dip, but then very quickly my phosphates rise up again. And I actually tried 2 different HANA phosphate checkers to basically check that for any error, and even then I am running into problems. So I'm going to lower a little bit the dose of what I'm dosing with every other day, but what I'm probably going to start doing next is I'm going to try to hook up some sort of a Cheetomorpha reactor, so the algae, into one of the chambers of my water box sump to see if this will help me bring down my phosphates. No matter what, I know that I shouldn't be making any changes quickly, because corals don't like it, and overall this is something that you have to be very careful with. But at least I'm happy that I've dosed lanthanum chloride, and I haven't had any major reaction in here. By the way, if anybody has eagle eyes, they'll notice that I do actually have one massive colony that died on me, and that happened before I started actually dosing any lanthanum chloride. I still have no idea what it is. It's my tricolor acropora, so this one right over there in the back, which is probably going to be gone either today or tomorrow, so I'm going to yank it out. But the most interesting part about it is that this started about a month ago, and even maybe 3 weeks ago, I don't really remember, but all the frags that were of that particular coral that were in this particular tank, they've all started to get tissue necrosis from the bottom up, and they all died as well. So again, something very puzzling. My salinity rock solid, my alkalinity is great as well. Phosphates I've had some issues with, but I don't think that necessarily was the cause, because it started happening before that. And really this is where we are at. So let me ask you this: if you have any experience working with phosphates, bringing them down, maybe using lanthanum or anything else, please write in the comments below. Give me any suggestions. So far I'm going to continue with this regimen, and then I'm also going to start using some sort of a macro algae to help bring the phosphates down, which by the way causes a few questions for me, raises a few questions for me. One is, when your macroalgae is growing, it probably doesn't also need the light, and it doesn't also take the phosphates and nitrates from the system. It must be also taking some minerals. So do I need to be adding iron or any other additives into the tank to make up for it. So as many of you can see, there's never a dull moment in this hobby. There's always something, and I guess that's what makes it so interesting, is the challenge. So overall, my tank is doing great. I appreciate all of your comments and support, and overall, I'm looking forward to the next couple of videos that I have scheduled for you. So Happy New Year, and hopefully everything is going to be even better with the tank. Thank you for watching.